Hey, World Entertainment, and God help us all, it's back. Star Trek, Strange New Worlds, Season 4, and we're about to review Episode 1, which is called Valles Marineris. So, yeah. Now, this is the episode that has dinosaurs. Now, I've asked the question, how the hell are dinosaurs on different planets, like Earth-style dinosaurs? There's a reason for that. Oh, there's a reason, and we will be getting to this character, Ortega or Ortigs, whatever the hell she's called. I can't stand her. I absolutely can't stand her. She's full of back chatting. She's the most modern wording person in there, as in she's the one that kind of always says, oh, yo, dude, and stuff like that. And it's just like, good God. So this episode does try and move a few things forward in explanation as to where certain people are going to go, such as number one here, Rebecca Romaine, because of course, where's she later on? You notice the shuttle. I've noticed something really weird about the shuttlecraft in this episode. We see the door opening and how they get out. A little platform comes out and doesn't attach to the nacelle. In fact, half the nacelle opens away as a staircase, and you're like, why would you have half of a staircase in your nacelle? That makes no sense whatsoever. Where's all the power grids within the nacelle? You've essentially said there's nothing in it. Now, keep in mind, these shuttlecrafts don't have warp speed, so the nacelles are basically impulse, but it's just really weird that it opens up the way it does. Now, this episode does try and do a bit too much as well. So what is it? Well, Pike is sent on a mission. It opens with him, Na'an, and Mbega on some alien planet riding horses. For some reason. Why are all of a sudden they making all the captains horse lovers? So he apparently has his own saddle. It's not like you didn't rip that off from Picard. But he's on a mission with them two, and they get back to the Enterprise, and Admiral Robert April is on his way to discuss something with Pike, and he's going to send him on a mission, but he wants to promote Pike. And Pike says, can I think on it? And he's like, well, you got until you come back from your next mission. And the next mission is, and Una, I believe, is number one's name. She's desperate to go on a away mission. That Pike keeps going on the away missions, and she wants to go on away missions. So their mission is to go and study this storm in space that could potentially rip the ship apart. But they go and have a look at it, and all of a sudden they get a distress call from within it. So what do? They fly on into it. And then they find out the distress call isn't from a ship, it's from a beacon. But there's no ship in sight. Then things start changing and they have to try and get out of the storm. And as they do, the storm expands and hits them and takes them away. Where they end up, over a planet where they need... It wasn't dilithium, they said. Oh, what was it called, they said? Myrithium or some crap like that. It's a power source, apparently, that powers the ship for warp speed and stuff. That's called dilithium. But either way, this stuff they need. And they pick it up on a planet. So, Pike says to number one, well, here's your chance to go on an away mission on a strange new world. So, her, Na'an, and Ortega, I'm pretty sure is her name, fly down. They have to take a shuttle. But they can't land close to the signal. And they're like, hey, we're picking up life signs. And they're like, what kind of life signs? And they're like, large. Very large. And we can see something moving in the distance. And Na'an takes it upon herself to say, can we go around it? And they're like, no, we have to go straight through it. And you can't see that it's a T-Rex at this stage. And she goes, okay, well, let's test something. They want the Enterprise to fire at it and stun whatever's in front of them. But the weapons are offline, Scotty can't fix it, and while that's happening, the ship gets grabbed by these people. The Martians. That's literally what they're called. They're called Martians. There's a reason for this as well. And their ship, it's this weird ship and kind of puts out this electrical tentacle things that grab the Enterprise, start pulling away, and they're saying, you know, they're pretty sure they've never heard of the Federation stuff, and they think they're this enemy they're fighting, this insect enemy that's killing their people. They're at war with this insect. Pike invites that captain woman on board the Enterprise to show that they're not a threat and stuff, and all she wants to do is see their weapon systems, because he has to say, like, you know, we got weapons and we'll defend ourselves and blah blah blah. So Spock is trying to get him to delay. He's like, stall, and we try and find out more about them. And it's right after she accepts the invite to come on board that Spock turns around and goes, well, we've just pinpointed our position. We're exactly 65 million years in the past. This is Earth. Yep, that's why there's dinosaurs. This isn't some alien planet. This is Earth. Figured that one out. Around the middle of space, they got sucked through a temporal time thing, and all of a sudden they're above Earth. The Martians, have you figured out why now they're called Martians? They're from Mars. The crater on Mars, you know, the big long crater that people think, is that from a river? Is that from something like an asteroid hitting the planet? Well, the story for this is that it was a crashed alien ship that starts eating basically the Martians. And that's all these insect aliens do, is go around eating them. The power source they're finding here on Earth is actually from a crashed one of those insect alien ships, and it's very convoluted the way it works and stuff. So now they're screwed, because now they're like, okay, we've just invited these people on board the ship. We're 65 million years more advanced than them, even though they don't seem to be, because these people don't transport over, they phase over. They just are able to walk through walls and stuff. And it's like, okay. Pike says to her, like, hey, look, you know, there has to be better ways than going to war and stuff like this. And she half believes him, but ends up stealing their power source anyway, and has to go and try and stop. This scene right here, you can see Na'an pointing the phaser, because her plan, now that we've seen, or just before we see the T-Rex, what does she decide to do? Yeah, I'm just going to stick the phaser and stun, walk up here and just shoot at it and see what happens. And she does that, and number one's basically like, what the hell did you do that for? And she's like, well, we now know it can't be stunned. Their plan to stun the T-Rex is, Una's plan, I should say, is to stun it in the mouth. So they need to get close to it, have it open its mouth, and shoot it in the mouth and hope and pray that that works. And it does. And then they're like, wow, now we can get around him. That's what's said. And Una's response is, yeah, she is asleep. And she emphasizes the she is asleep. And they're like, of course the T-Rex is a female. They get to the weird crash ship, which you don't know is a crash ship until they get to it. They get the power thing. Another dinosaur attacks them. And just punches it. And it runs away. And they're like, you just punched it. And she's like, I didn't have time to take out my phaser and stun it. It's like, okay. We later find out when she gets back on board the Enterprise that she broke her hand when punching the, I'm assuming it was meant to be a raptor or something like it. But she feels no pain. So all of a sudden she's augmented, because she's Khan Noonien Singh's great-granddaughter. And now she thinks the advanced part of her is taking over, and they're like, are you getting the urge to conquer the galaxy, and she says, not yet, I don't know what's going to happen. So they're seemingly leaning into she's going to be removed by being augmented, and that they might have to put her down, basically. They're setting up how Una's going to be leaving the ship, because rather than Pike taking the promotion, he gives it to her. So she's officially commander, one step away from captain, all this type of crap. Now, the Martians, as I said, stole the thing, this power source. Not the power source they went and had to get off Earth, but this other power source. And they go and want to destroy a planet with the insects on it. Turns out this is the 5th planet in the solar system. And it has a name and stuff, and Pike's like, there is no 5th planet in the solar system. So, the ship gets in line, her ship. They fire this torpedo at the planet. The Enterprise has torpedoes back online, but needs to be close enough to be able to fire. And their plan is to shoot the torpedo. But Pike stands down and says, don't fire. And they're like, but we have to. And he's like, we could be changing things. This planet doesn't exist in our timeline, so this must have to go out the way it's all meant to happen. The Martian ship, they've also noticed, is too close, that she's going to sacrifice herself, that captain and her crew, to make sure that it was a kill shot. It is. Blows up the planet, destroys them. Then they're like, hey, this shockwave is on its way, we need to run. Spock says, no, we actually need to use it to get back to our own time. And they do. And it's stupid the way it happens. But then we learn that when she destroyed this planet, a chunk of that planet was the meteor that hit Earth and killed the dinosaurs. We also find out that it shifted the whole thing to put Earth in a better position and cool it down to make it more sustainable for life, as well as she inadvertently, because of the destruction, it cooled down Mars and killed the planet. So her plan to stop these insect things worked, and then didn't work because in the end she sacrificed Mars. However, we find out that some people did escape it, and their DNA is spliced throughout different species within the universe, so their species basically has lived on. It's like wild. Here's where it gets really convoluted. The Enterprise, this crew, created life on Earth. That's right. If it wasn't for them going back in time, letting the Martians steal the technology, destroy that planet, Earth and the universe as we know it would never have existed. So all life on Earth and all the history of Earth is thanks to the Enterprise. Figure that one out. How the hell is the temporal police people not showing up to sort this one out? It's all convoluted and stupid, and by the end it ended like this, with the crew saying like, hey, like, are you not going to tell us about the dinosaurs? And apparently they had time to stop and have a look, and you just see dinosaurs everywhere, brachiosauruses and fly ones and little ones, and it was just like, good God. By the way, they really threw out a Doctor Who connection in this, and I mean, they hinted at it last season. The TARDIS was in an episode. It was a blink and you didn't see it, but it was in. The woman, I always say the woman from Scrooged, who played the ghost of Christmas Present, her character in this, she's the one that keeps hinting that she has been time traveling before. And she says it again in this, and this is before they even go back in the past. And flat out says, oh yeah, I've done these crazy explorations with these things, and I'm pretty sure I was in a phone box. That's the biggest reference to Doctor Who to date, because we know they were trying to push for a Doctor Who crossover. Oh. So, we're up and running. Season 4, Episode 1 of Strange New Worlds has dropped. And it's just as god-awful as you would expect it to be. With dinosaurs being punched. With people being morons. Oh yeah, I forgot to say. There's another Vulcan on board the Enterprise. That's come from Starfleet Academy. Even though, at this point, Spock was the only Vulcan in Starfleet. Now people will argue, well, what about T'Pol in Enterprise? Yeah, she was on board the Enterprise. She didn't serve in Starfleet. She was there on behalf of the Vulcan embassy and stuff like that. So, yeah, she was a part of the crew, but she wasn't in Starfleet. This new Vulcan woman is. And just like, is this Sarky bitch? And like, her tries to speak to her in Vulcan. She's like, your pronouncing is horrible and blah blah blah, and you really have nothing to teach me and all this type of crap. It was just like, okay, so we've another Vulcan now on board the Enterprise who's serving in Starfleet, has her Starfleet uniform on, came from the Academy, even though we know ourselves, up to this point in history, Spock was the only Vulcan that went to Starfleet Academy. But overall, it's a god-awful episode. It's a boring episode. I found myself drifting off, starting to stare at my phone a lot during it. It was a mess. And it's only going to get worse. By the way, they've changed the start, and now we can see that there's definitely going to be a noir episode, because it showed us the Enterprise flying over a city in black and white. Yeah, I'm not lying about that either. Can't wait. So, there's your review for episode 1 of season 4 of Strange New Worlds. And with that, I shall leave it there for this one. So do like and share and subscribe and all of that good stuff. Cheers, and I'll catch you in the next one.